president has not committed to putting boots on the ground in Gaza. He has also said that the United States is not going to pay for the rebuilding of Gaza. His administration is going to work with our partners in the region to reconstruct this region. And let me just take a step back here, because this is an out-of-the-box idea. That's who President Trump is. That's why the American people elected him. And his goal is lasting peace in the Middle East for all people in the region. The president's made it clear that he expects these nations in the region to step up and to accept Palestinian refugees who will be temporarily relocated for the rebuilding of Gaza. As for whether Prime Minister Netanyahu was aware before the president's remarks, he was indeed. I wasn't present for that reaction. But again, this is something the president has been socializing and thinking about for quite some time.
And under President Trump's leadership, just like you, we are totally committed to achieving peace through strength, through standing with Israel on our side, putting America first, and never backing down from anything. That it has been and will continue to be an unbreakable bond between our countries. As you know, you have a long memory, we have a long memory, and may our relationship continue to endure. We're going to continue to grow our defense industrial base. We've supplied munitions that were previously not supplied, that are useful in eradicating radical enemies, and we are committed to continuing to do so.
I truly believe Israel obviously has no greater friend than the United States, and I think the United States has no better friend than Israel. It's an ally that perhaps is different from many of your allies because we have no compunction about fighting our enemies by ourselves. We're willing to shoulder the burden of our defense, but by confronting the forces of radicalism and terror and the forces that are anti-American at their core. They call you the great Satan and they call us the small Satan. We just stand in their way, but you are their great enemy. By confronting these various enemies, we're not only defeating those who wish to attack us, but those who wish to attack you as well. And therefore, our victory is your victory. With our alliance, with your support, including the decision you just mentioned of supplying Israel the much-needed tools for our defense, we are a lot stronger than we've ever been.
I would just say to the question of Gaza, the definition of insanity is attempting to do the same thing over and over and over again. And as the President and Prime Minister pointed out last night, the President is willing to think outside the box, look for new and unique, dynamic ways to solve problems that have felt like they're intractable. So we look forward to more conversations about that, creative solutions to that, and as the man tasked with leading the Defense Department here, we're prepared to look at all options, as we've said before. Good to see you, sir. Welcome to the Pentagon, and we look forward to the discussion as well.
In the search for solutions, we must not make the problem worse. It is vital to stay true to the bedrock of international law. It is essential to avoid any form of ethnic cleansing. We must reaffirm the two-state solution. Any durable peace will require tangible, irreversible, and permanent progress toward the two-state solution, an end to the occupation, and the establishment of an independent Palestinian state with Gaza as an integral part. A viable sovereign Palestinian state living side by side in peace and security with Israel is the only sustainable solution for Middle East stability.
We have no country except Palestine. Gaza is a precious part of it. We are not going to leave Gaza. There is no power on earth that can remove the Palestinian people from our ancestral homeland, including Gaza. We want to rebuild it, we want to put it back together, and we ask all countries to help us in this endeavor and in this regard. We are not looking for other homelands or other countries.
Well, the president seems to be bloviating, and what he spoke about, this idea that America should take over Gaza, is contrary to both international law, to common sense, to morality, to anything that you name, to rationality. So it just came out of left field, very bizarre. And it seems to be an idea that was hatched by Jared Kushner when he, a few months ago, spoke about how Gaza was on this waterfront property that is very valuable. And obviously President Trump is always driven by these real estate deals. So it's pretty embarrassing for the United States and for the world to have him say and do the things that he's saying and doing.
Gaza is Palestinian, it's Palestinian land, it's a sovereign land. The audacity and nerve for him to carry on his business title, to act like he can make this into a business deal, is very absurd. It's sad, but also laughable at the same time.
We have to believe it, and we have to be ready for it. You know, we don't want to just say that it's words and it's words. We've seen the Democratic Party do horrible things and allow Israel to do horrible things. And so, you know, from somebody like Trump, we should only expect worse things.
We were looking to President Trump as someone who is genuinely intent on achieving long-lasting peace in the Middle East. You know, that's what he committed to during his campaign. He signed the peace plaques when he was hosted in Dearborn. He made a statement to that effect that he is committed to achieving long-lasting peace in the Middle East. And to us as a community and within the MENA region, there is no pathway to peace without ensuring that the Palestinians have self-determination and have a sovereign state of their own.
The Palestinian people in Gaza are entitled to self-determination, not Trump determination. They fought tooth and nail and lost life and limb for that right and for that freedom, and that will not change in the future.
Yeah, I think the international community needs to step up. South Africa led the way in filing, the charges in the international court. Now is the time for, the world to step up for Palestine, especially those who claim that they believe in a judicial process and believe in the international courts.
Well, a genocide could not displace them, right? The Palestinians are not. We are a strong, stubborn people. And the Palestinians are not just going to leave because, Trump said so. Then we know what's going to happen, right? They're going to use the force, and they're going to use every method in the book. They're going to use similar methods that we saw in the genocide.
He did express gratitude to Arab Americans and Muslim Americans during his victory speech. And based on his directive, a lot of the GOP offices around the country began to do outreach to Arab American, Muslim American communities to establish, consistent lines of communication. And I feel like this, kind of goes in the opposite direction. And if the GOP wants to continue, capitalizing on the momentum that they were able to achieve in this election cycle, you don't do that by alienating, the constituents that supported you, and I feel like that's what's happening, unfortunately.
Well, my first reaction was that's Trump being Trump. There's no way in hell that this thing is going to work. It involves too many moving parts. It involves ethnic cleansing of Gaza. It involves the American commitment of troops. It involves violations of international law. It involves the Palestinians renouncing their entitlement to the land on which they are. So it's just not going to work. Probably, and I'm only putting it out there, the reason for the deal is not so that the deal gets realized. The reason for it is so that Netanyahu could go back to his cabinet and say, okay, look, this is a deal down the road that's not going to give the Palestinians a state of their own. But in the meantime, we have to get through the ceasefire. And this will allow him to bring on board the extreme right wing of his cabinet for the ceasefire. And then Trump will do whatever betrayal he wants to do afterwards. The Middle Eastern countries that have responded so far have been extremely negative. Saudi Arabia has come out and said, of course, that we want a two-state solution. It hasn't identified the plan per se, but it's come out for us to two-state solution. The Egyptians and Jordanians have several times said that they are not interested in taking in Palestinian refugees. So it's a non-starter as far as the Arab world is concerned. The Arab world is on record as supporting a two-state solution. They've been on record since 2002 as supporting a two-state solution. So this is the way the Arab world wants to react. Walking away from the Palestinian issue, full support behind Israel has been something that has had a great deal of support in the United States among the extreme right, and not even the extreme right, but among the right as well. I think the Arab Americans who voted for Trump in Michigan and other places are having second thoughts.
The destruction of homes, the destruction of educational institutions, the displacement of Palestinians, their starvation, the denial of safe quarter to make Gaza uninhabitable. Trump is finishing the job, so to speak, by now proposing to move in and remove Palestinians altogether. It is not legal. Genocide is not legal. Ethnic cleansing is not legal. The acquisition of territory by force is not legal. This violates humanitarian, human rights, and other principles of international law. In the aftermath of the Second World War, there has been a system that has based a fundamental principle of self-determination as well as state equality, which prohibits the acquisition of territory by force and which centers people's rights to self-determination. It is a complete disrespect of these principles, and the impetus is on the international community in order to stem, restrain, isolate the United States and preserve what it can of this international order. Unless we are able to pay attention as much to what the United States does to other people abroad, then we are unable to adequately protect Americans in the United States.